Hey, colors out there. This is Nathan back again with another episode of Comic Book Coloring Tips and Tricks. This is going to be episode 19, and we're going to be covering water and water type effects. It's a long-awaited tutorial, and it's kind of a lot. So I think what's going to happen is I'll have to break it up into two parts. So a better character to do water type effects with than Fathom. So here we have on this side here is these two characters. This one here, the artist is Adriano Batista, and I'll put his DeviantArt account in the description. And this one here is by Joey Vasquez. Like the simple design of it and the water effects. Maybe just kind of more still water as opposed to the fluid water we have on the other one. So it gives a little bit more ground to cover. I think we'll do the Joey Vasquez one first just to get warmed up as we're going. I think we have to remember, of course, that water is very reflective. So whatever colors we establish here in the sky is what we're going to see down there in the water as well. So what I'm going to do first of all, let me bring this over from my other monitor. Let's just do a search for, a sunset beach. So we can see, what kind of choices we have to work with, what kind of sky we're going for. And I think it's where a lot of people kind of lack is, using reference. I know a lot of times when I was first starting out, I'd like to go from things off the top of my head, and I think you get a lot better results, a lot better looking results if you're looking at going from reference. So don't be too afraid to try that out. I kind of like something like this, where we're using. Let me see if I can copy this over. Just copy that. And drag this out of the way. So what I'll do, if I'm going to use reference, let me paste that into my background or somewhere where I can see it. If I'm just going to be picking colors from it, I'll go ahead and lock the transparency on that layer, so just the pixels that are there in that shape are going to be affected, and then just blur that out. Not that much, of course. I think that looks pretty good. And what we can do is I go back to our flats layer. We'll open up a new layer, and we'll pick our orange here. And we'll just pick a color back here. Pick a mid-ground color. There we go. Let me do this. Let me just copy that like that. And I can just pick colors right on it. That'll save some time. So I'm just picking colors from our reference that we're using. And it's looking a little bit drab, so maybe I'll just kick it up a little bit with some levels, kind of giving us some of those colors that we're looking at here. And I'll switch to my airbrush. Get a soft airbrush going. I want a little bit of this pink to show up as well. Be nice. And again, kind of what we were talking about before in the clouds tutorial, our main focus isn't going to be on the clouds back here, so I don't have to spend a whole lot of time on them. What I'll just do for something like this, I think, just go with put a feather on my lasso, say about 3. I'll give us like a nice blurry type effect, and just a couple loose selection lines. and then maybe just go in with the dodge. Nah, I'm not digging that. Maybe I'll do my airbrush, and we'll just set that to overlay. Let's see how that looks. Oops. It's looking all right. Let's put a little bit higher, or a little bit more of a highlight on this bottom part here. Yeah, we don't want too much of like a straight line or anything like that. This is not really how clouds operate. Oops, let me get rid of these bits and pieces here. Alright, so that's just really rough. Actually, I'm not even digging it too much. But, you know, we got our colors in there. That's the important part, I think. Let's add a brighter pink. Still got my selection. Okay, I like it a little bit more. Let's add a little bit more red in those tones. A little bit of green. I think at that point, yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm digging that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select both the can't talk, dark and the light. Yeah, that's not a word. Dark and the light areas. When I go here, let's go ahead and pick, it's kind of more of a brownish color because it's kind of reflecting the clouds here, but we don't really have dark clouds in ours, so we'll pick these colors here, and we're just kind of going to do the opposite of what's up here. We'll have that, you know, going through the water here. And again, you've got to remember, it's still going to have like this dark, you know, color of the ocean or what have you. So it's not going to be as bright as the sky color. But we want to show a little bit of it. I think at this point, what we can do, so we have our flats with this with the dark shadow selected differently. Let's play around with that a little bit, and we'll pick this dark color. We'll fill that in. Let's do, oops, darken that up a little bit more and desaturate it, just to show that that's in the it's more in the shade. And then let's go back to this color, and I'll kind of, it's not going to be as dark over here in the as it goes farther back. So we'll lighten that stuff up a little bit more. I think that looks pretty good. Now, I think I would just keep it simple like this, since she's the main character. But, you know, I wouldn't go in with too many selections or anything like that. Let me get a little bit of blue, a little bit more blue going in the shadows. I'm really digging that look. I was wondering what happened. I guess her eyes were flatted the same color as the water. Okay, so really digging this, and we can do as well, instead of having like this harsh line, we go ahead and knock that back. We'll set up a layer on top of our line art and create a clipping mask. Let's go with our pencil tool, and with that we can just kind of draw all over it. And I'll show you in a second what that's going to look like. I'm just using the pencil tool because it's a lot faster. You can use your lasso tool if you want to just make the selections and fill it. not going to get every single little bit because I don't want to take too long on it, but let's see, this leg is going to go under the water, so we'll do that bit. And this piece here is just done off the pencils, so I think hopefully the inks would be a lot cleaner on this when you're going to color your pieces. I think it's important to if you're doing samples or stuff like that to show to publishers, if you're still trying to get into comic book coloring, I think one of the most important things to make sure you do is to pick quality pieces of art, finished pieces, professional level type of stuff. I think if you don't, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and your work isn't looking as good as it could. Could say, like, if you're working on your friend's artwork or something like that. Not to say that your friend's a bad artist, but I think you have to be honest with yourself. Is it really showing your work in the best light as well? So just something to watch out for. So even though I'm just doing this for tutorials' sake, if I could find an inked version of this, then I would go ahead and use that. It would help sell it, make it look a lot better. So I just finished with the line art. I had darkened this part up here as well to make a grade 8 a bit better. Let me go ahead and lighten the horizon a little bit more. That looks pretty nice. So without the clipping mask, let me show you that's what this looks like. So with the clipping mask on top of it, it's pointing down to this pencil line, and it's telling it this is the part that I want you to color. So that's why I like using that. It's a really quick and easy way to colorize your line art. I want to add some more highlights in the background here. I'm going to try them out on a separate layer. I have trying to remember if I had highlighted this brush set or not. I don't think I have. Let me see if I can find it. There's some really nice texture brushes. Is it this one? No. It's like this one's kind of like a chalky. No, that's not it. It's not too bad. Let me see if I can make it bigger. So maybe kind of hinting at the sun kind of sparkling off of the water in the distance. I think a nice sponge texture brush will. Let me see if I can find one. I know I had one in mind when I was doing this. That looks all right. Let's just go in and kind of erase some of that out. So I can find. I know I have another brush that's be perfect for this. Just have to find it. It's a problem with having so many brushes. It's too soft. Maybe some of those star ones that we're kind of messing around with. I did in a brush spotlight. No, it's too soft too. Let's see. If I just took that, change the color of it or something. And overlay, it doesn't look too shabby. No, I think you guys get the gist of it. But that's, you know, pretty basic coloring the water on this piece. Yeah, I'm not going to do too much more to this one. Let me save that out. In case I want to go back and finish her up, I think it'd be neat as well. So we have, probably have her like in shadow. Let me darken this a little bit more. You know, maybe do like a nice cool purplish light. I think would set her off nicely against that that background. Let me see, soft brush, just to kind of indicate to you guys what my thinking is. You know, something like that I think would look really nice. Then what I would also do, because it is water and it is reflective, take her, copy that selection, just hit Command or Control J, that'll put your selection onto a new layer. I'll just take that, flip vertical, so you can take her legs. A lot of times you'll have to adjust it, you know, if it's a separate perspective or whatever. So do that and put a clipping mask on it or what have you. And then say like you can have this on, just kind of mess around with your settings. Here's like on a multiply or my overlay didn't really look too good. Color burn. You know, sometimes I'll just have it on maybe on normal, but just then like lower opacity or something. You know, just get a hint of that reflection in there, and then can also break out your smudge tool, and then you know, kind of push it and pull it. Let me get in closer so you guys can see this. Turn this up. You know, just to kind of go with the with the water. You know, give it some shape. It's adding, you know, a little bit of distortion to it. I think that'll help it out as well. You know, I'm not saying I would use those colors or anything like that, because that looks pretty hideous. But I think you guys like understand where I'm coming from. Adding like her shadow or a nice little reflection in the water or something will help sell it as well. But you know, let's move on to the next piece. This one here is going to be a little bit more difficult. Select this water, put that on a new layer, and this water, put on a new layer as well. So I think first of all, again, because the water is going to be reflective, we have to decide what color we're going to do the sun. I'm thinking maybe we'll just do it as more of a design element. And we'll just have it be like and we'll have it be a brighter color, you know, like this kind of orange or something like that. Kind of dig that. So if that's going to be that, we want something to kind of offset her a little bit more. So maybe we'll take the water a little bit more greenish. I think that might look nice. So maybe a little bit more yellow or something. Because it's going to be with the blue of the water and then the orange of the sun. You're going to have a little bit more green tinted water, I think. And I'm just going to pick this color. So it's right here. And we'll leave it as that blue. But what I'll do, because This water here looks like it's just coming up, where this water here looks like it already has a lot of movement, so it'll be a little bit more see-through, a little bit more transparent. But I'm going to take this teal color that I had color picked. Oops, let me lock that layer down. So it's going to start off blue down here at the bottom, but then you're going to start to see some of that, like the rest of that green. So let me get that blue again. I'll put that a little bit more back in there. And also that's going to give us depth in between this water right here and then the water back here. It's going to add a little bit more depth to the piece. Let's see. I've never colored a Fathom piece before, so I'm not sure what her colors are exactly. Not really going to think about her too much, just really worried about the water. And we'll see how this goes. So at the same time, I'm just kind of making this up as I go along with you guys. I've never colored this piece before, so I have no idea what the finished piece is going to look like either. But we'll get our lasso, oops, our lasso, set the feather back down to 0. So we can start making some selections in here. So this is going to be moving water, so I want, you know, kind of moving selections. I have that locked, so I don't have to worry too much about that. Yeah, I want some movement in the selection. So I'm just going to kind of show this water here is going up. And we're going to save this bit here. And maybe we'll start to see a little bit of the light popping through it as well. Let's lighten this up a little bit. I'm going to take my dodge tool. So it really looks like a light source is coming through now. I like that. So that looks pretty good. And as we get closer to the edges, and I think all this stuff here up on top, it's going to be more white because of the foam. So I think we'll color pick some of these colors, and again, we'll just kind of introduce this movement into the water over here. And we have to think about the movement of the water. We see it's coming up from here and coming around this way. So we want our selections to show that. And where the kind of like when we're doing hair, we want to show the shape of it in our selections. Let's see, like that color. So introducing a little bit of that orange into it. And we get a little bit of the dodge on it. Show a little bit more of a light source. So yeah, I'm liking the way that's coming out so far. And just keep in mind this is a work in progress. It's kind of like watching Bob Ross paint or something. You know, you're gonna get frustrated at first, and then you'll see how it all comes together. Yeah, because we're building all this up on top of each other, kind of like with the fire. You know, it's a lot of repetition, and we'll get there eventually. So showing the movement over here as well. Pick some of these colors. Just keep it consistent. Because it's painting natural, you know, I'm not really concerned. I'm like, oh, it needs a selection right here. You know, not really worried about it. You know, just kind of going zigzagging it and keeping it fast and fluid, because it's, you know, it's how water is. Alright, so got this stuff going now. I think I lost my selection there. There we go. Let me hide it. Just building up our selections and our airbrush. So I think that looks pretty good right there. And again, we'll hit it up with a little bit of dodge just to really help put it over the top and pop it out. So that's looking pretty good on that one. And I think now we can go ahead and start introducing some lighter colors in this. Grab a hybrid brush. I'm going to start a new layer on top of this, and I'll just create a clipping mask. That way there's clipping to this background water right here. So I don't have to worry about going out of the lines or anything like that. And it's a lighter aqua color that we're using right here, and that's going to be a little bit for my shadows for the foam, because I don't want to go like straight white. You know, but doing it on a separate layer, it's giving me a little bit. It's giving me the ability to come around and play with it later on to find like the colors we want. So this is going to be foam. It's going to kind of blend it in to what we had over here. That on 100%, and I can just color all this in. Oops. It's also nice because now I can go in and like, oh, let me clean this bit up. That's part of our underneath part, so that's not going to have any foam color on it. Okay, now maybe what I'll do is just to have the look be consistent, which I think is important. We'll go through and just kind of, oops. Let me do this part again. You know what, I won't. It wasn't looking too great, so I'll just kind of blend this in. Paint it, if you will. Maybe a little bit with the smudge tool. Excuse me. And because it's on a separate layer, it's gonna work pretty nice. All right, so we have our foam. Maybe we'll have a little bit more on this side. So say like as it's wrapping around her, the foam's coming a little bit lower. I think that'll work. So now we're just going to start going in kind of like with our clouds tutorial. You know, we'll pick our highlights. You know, they're whitest white. Of course, the sun is going to be our light source. So we want to be consistent with that. So this is just my hybrid brush, where the hardness is at 41%. So somewhere in the middle, between a hard brush and a soft brush. Spacing is at 11% for this one, but you know, yours might work a little bit differently, or you might have some other brush that you prefer. This is just going to make it go by fast, and it's It's not like a really soft edge, but it's not a really hard edge on it, just in between. So I like the way it looks. And it saved me a lot of time where I could just draw or paint with it very quickly instead of having to worry about making too many selections. Again, I'm just kind of zipping through this right now just for tutorial sake, to show you guys what I'm talking about. You know, if it's a commission piece or for a job, you know, of course I'd spend a little bit more time on it. And let's see, I think that's gonna do it for that bit. And I'll come in, I'll switch this back to say like 10% or something, and I'll, you know, go in and paint. Paint a little bit more. I'm gonna come in a little bit and add some more selections. But it, again, this is just for the base. Let's take a step back and see how this is starting. See, it's starting to come together. And maybe I'll go back to my lasso, maybe feather it at, you know, 3. See how that looks, and just kind of try and blend this in a little bit more. I'll go to a soft airbrush for this. Oops. Make sure you're on white and not black. That always helps. Oh yeah, so that's helping it blend a little bit better. I'm just kind of going in, defining these shapes here a little bit more. I'm liking the way that's coming out. Go back to our feather set to 0, and let's pop this out a little bit more down here. That's with the just with the dodge tool. Yeah. All right. I think we need to see a little bit more of the orange going on, so I'm going to set up another layer in between the foam and our rendering of the water, and let's just try setting that to color. And again, because it is on a separate layer, we can always mess around. What happens when you set up a new layer in between a layer that's clipped to another layer? It automatically is going to set it to a clipping mask, which I think is awesome. It's going to help save you some time. So we'll just go in, like on the edges here. So let me see if I do that to this. So I have it clipped to the foam. Kind of liking the warmth on the edges. Let me delete that and then start playing with this a little bit. So kind of dig that. So get like that orange from the sun. But it's a little bit too much, probably. Just kind of cleaning that up in here. Let me see if I can go, oops, not like that. So I go a little bit lighter with it. A little bit more yellow or something. That's kind of cool, I like that. Let me see what kind of color that is. Kind of a cream color. Let me hold on to that one for now. So I'm digging the way that looks. So let's go ahead and we'll continue that stuff on this other side here. And you see, I'm not really too concerned, like, oh, you should be like more bubbles in here and all this other stuff. You know, it's not really important. The main figure is her. So, all right, we'll go back to our foam layer that we had going. Let me pick this color green we had. And same as before, kind of airbrush this stuff in. Maybe this time I'll just go ahead and start with the feather. Looks like it goes like that. Let's get all this goodness. So we just fill that in. And go back to our hybrid brush. Set to 100%. So as you guys can see, I mean, a lot of the stuff, it's just trial and error. You know, if you color your water and foam a different way, I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I'm just trying to, you know, show you guys one way of doing it. It's all about taking stuff that you've learned, or maybe, you know, stuff you learned from other people, and you know, learning how to apply it for yourself. You know, nobody can come along and like this is how you do it, and you're not going to continue to use that same thing for the rest of your coloring career. At least I hope not. You know, I always had a saying I would tell new people I was training. You know, if you stop learning, then you suck. You know, and it's a little harsh, but I mean, it's true. I mean, once you think you're good enough, you know, you're already done in the industry. You know, here come you know, a lot more 15-year-olds or even younger, you know, that have nothing to really do after they get out of school or whatever but monkey around in Photoshop. And you see, you know, kids getting younger and younger and getting just so amazing and adept at using Photoshop. And you know, you don't, even as an artist, say like painting, drawing, or what have you, you don't want to get stuck in a rut. So it's always important to watch other artists, other colorists, painters, even, you know, even like totally different art styles that you would never even consider coloring in, or what have you, and just see how they approach something. And you're always going to learn something different, whether it's like, you know, hey, I like the way these two colors work together. You know, you might throw it into a pinup together or something like that. You never know. But yeah, it's always important to watch out for that stuff and never become too stagnant in what you do. So I'm gonna take this. We'll go down to take our brush down to 10% and start laying in some of this other rough color stuff. I think we'll have to, with all this white and everything, I think we'll go ahead and change the background to a color as well. I'm not quite sure what that's going to be yet, but we'll see in a second. Oops. Now I'm going to take my lasso tool, it's still at 3, so I can go ahead and go in and grab some of this stuff here. Make more highlights, put that on soft brush. And then, let's see, so we got that going on. Go back to this bit. And I like the way this is popping out here. So let's see how that looks. That's looking pretty nice and transparent. Let's see how, what I'll do as well, it's like if this is going to print, I don't want to have like a bright color like this cyan right here, because that's not going to print at all. So what you might want to do is turn on your Command or Option Y. And you can see here, this file is still in RGB, but it's putting on a CMYK preview. So it's a way to check your colors without having to go all the way up to image mode and then make the change to CMYK. So that's a nice little helpful tip. So I'm liking that. It's looking pretty nice. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to color this bit over here, but just imagine more of the same type of stuff. I'll try and have this colored for the thumbnail, so you can check it out. But before we end this, let's go ahead and take the background. Let's pick a color. Maybe we'll go same orange, but we'll lighten it up. I think that looks pretty nice. Man, lost that cream color. Let me get that back. Oops, that's not it. Set to normal. Copy it, copy it. Okay. The reason I'm copying it over a couple times is just to, it's very transparent. So if I'm adding it over and over and over again, it makes it more, makes this where I can just go ahead and pick that color so I can see like the actual color that it is. Comes in handy. So just go in now, adding like that same cream color to all the edges of the foam and a little bit into it right here. So you can see it adds like a little transparent feel to it where we're seeing like this cream color behind it. I'm really liking the way that's looking. So now what I'm going to do is we have our layer on top of the line art. We'll do like the same thing we did on the other one. We'll go ahead and make this into a clipping mask. And for this, for the shortcut, I'm on a Mac, I'm holding my control button, and that pops up this button, or this drop-down menu. But it's the same menu that's over here on this side. But it's a lot faster just for me to, my hand's on the keyboard anyway, I'll just hold down that. It's the same thing as doing a right-click. So if you're using a mouse or you have shortcut set on your Wacom stylus, however you want to pronounce it. So we have this foam, and I just want to make it look a little bit softer. So it's not going to be as hard of an edge as like her body or something like that. Let's go ahead and get a pencil tool. So let's just soften this up, and we'll do that by coloring the line art. Same thing, it's on a clipping mask, so we can just go ahead and scribble all over the place. That we want the color to be. That's really going to soften it up, make it look more transparent. I think that's looking really nice so far. This is also going to help add more depth on the character. I'm going to go a little bit darker. I like that color. That's pretty cool. I'm going to take off that clipping mask so I can see. Oh yeah. See how much of a mess it is, and you put the clipping mask back on and cleans it up. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was picking the right color on that. Alright, so is that it? Oh, we're missing this little bit up here in her hair, but that's fine. We'll come back to that later. So I'm going to get a new clipping mask underneath just for this other bits right here, for this water. There's more in the background, and then when I color this water in the foreground, it's going to be the line art I'll do like a darker shade, so it looks more in the foreground than that. Maybe I'll darken that a little bit more so we can see it. All right, there we go. So I think that'll do it for this episode. I don't want to drag it off for too long, but as you can see, it's just a really quick, really easy way to handle water. Again, there's going to be a part 2, which I'll show, and it's going to focus a little bit more on using like the powers and stuff like that. I think I'll also try and paint or if I still haven't found one, a decent waterfall to color up for you guys. If I can't find it, then I'll just go ahead and do a painting of one, I guess. And we'll go through that process as well. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and the like button as well. It helps me out a lot as far as like helping get the word out and people seeing the videos and everything. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you soon for part 2 of the water stuff. All right, thanks, bye. All right.